Fans of the Batman, rumors have been circulating the web about the villains for the Batman Part 2, but we may have just gotten some concrete answers. It's hot off the press, so let's get going. What's up everyone, and welcome back to Jones Vibes. Hit the like button if 2 years of nights have turned you into a nocturnal animal, and let's dive in. And over the last couple videos, I've been doing a riddle to start each one in honor of the Riddler, and I'm not going to change that up today, so let's start with this. The riddle is, the more of this there is, the less you see. What is it? If you know the answer, leave it down in the comments and I will let you know if you get it right. But today I have a couple different topics that I wanted to break down, one of which has kind of been existing in the ether of the Batman for quite some time now. Or at least it's been among a lot of the scoops that have come out. I've even discussed this character a little bit here on the channel, but Jeff Snyder of the Hot Mic podcast has made some very interesting comments of late, and this time he's talking about Hush. An article from CBR.com broke down what was said. Snyder said, "Is there a rumor that the villain is going to be Hush? Maybe. Maybe that rumor exists. I have heard whispers of a Hush." However, Snyder clarified that Hush being in the Batman Part 2 remains a rumor and that he cannot confirm its accuracy. And so after seeing this got me thinking about some of the other times that Hush has kind of come up. I don't know if you guys remember, after the Batman, Matt Reeves had a Q&A and he was talking about, well, he was asked which villains could possibly show up in the Batman Part 2. And he said, there are so many, and I don't know. I think Hush is a really interesting one to do. I'll say Hush, but that doesn't mean that the next one will be Hush. And we know exactly what you mean, Matt. And now, I can't remember exactly what I've said about Hush here in the past, but what I do want to say right now is that I like this idea. And judging off of the comments, especially from Jeff Snyder, he has a lot of credibility. He has a good reputation among the film family. And so today, I just wanted to speculate and talk about what this could look like. If you don't know who Hush is, I can give you a very quick rundown. Basically, he's been named Thomas Elliot, and he was a childhood friend of Bruce's. He was wealthy as well, and he was kind of painted as one of the best friends that Bruce ever had. They would hang out and go places. There's even, I remember a scene where they're in Metropolis and they see, I think it was Green Lantern flying above, and they're like obsessed with superheroes. I thought that was awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong there. It could be Superman or something. But basically later in life, they've gone their separate ways, and Thomas is now a neurosurgeon, but secretly operating as Hush. Operating in like the shadows as Hush, not like operating on people as Hush, as like yeah. But he's a villain that knows the secret. He knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he uses different villains from the Rogues Gallery to try to take Batman down. And a lot of that comes directly from Batman Hush. And look, I mean, we have the Penguin, we have Joker, we have Riddler, we are possibly getting introduced to Harvey Dent's Two-Face. It's rumored, or, I mean, honestly, possibly confirmed at this point, that Clayface is going to be in the movie. That's a lot of different villains, and so this story could probably adapt pretty well. And it's pretty clear that Matt Reeves isn't going to, like, directly adapt anything, but he most definitely will take influence. It's not going to just be, like, a copy of Batman Hush, but with that being said, what does this mean, and how could this work? Well, after thinking about this quite a bit, the biggest Easter egg that there is so far just down this path would be the inclusion of one Edward Elliot in the Batman. If you remember him, he's the guy who Thomas Wayne asked Falcone to hush up. But then Falcone went a little crazy, and yeah, he took things a little too far there. But just for the sake of thinking, let's say that Edward had a son, Thomas, and this son lost his father and eventually found out the reasons for his father's death. That could certainly be cause and effect enough for a motive. And whether he realizes this in his young age and he's just kind of despising Bruce Wayne growing up, or you could have a direct tie-in to Part 1, and he could have learned all this when the Riddler revealed all this during his, like, media takeover, when he showed all of Gotham how corrupt the city has been, specifically the Waynes and the Arkhams. And I think that'd be cool if that's what tipped him off, and that's what leads him back to Bruce. I don't know, it's just one of those things that, like, now that I'm thinking about it, the pieces are all already there. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, but something that we already know is Clayface is probably going to be in this movie. And so now you gotta ask yourself, is he gonna be the main villain, or could Hush secretly be pulling the strings? In the midst of a very dense mystery that Batman's trying to solve, maybe he gets to the root of Clayface and he discovers there's so much more to this, and maybe that's what leads him to Hush. I think it could be cool. My only hesitation, just personally, is that maybe you don't try to make it so much about the relationship between Bruce and Thomas when they were younger. Because I just feel like part 1 had a lot of that childhood stuff with Edward and the orphanage and all that, and you don't want to be treading the same lines there, if that makes sense. It might seem a little bit too familiar. Obviously, I trust Matt Reeves to write like a phenomenal script, so I'm sure they will and they won't do that. But that's just one concern that I already have just kind of in my head. But who knows, they might write a completely different backstory for Hush and for Clayface. Maybe Edward Elliot is just another dude and there's no connection. But something that I was thinking about, and I don't know if you guys did this, but after part 1, they did that rataalada.com, that thing that takes you to this interactive Riddler site that when solved, you get all these images and things to dissect. I actually didn't really save any, so I had to like re-look a lot of these up, but I remember that there's like the longer clip of the Thomas Wayne campaign ad, and it says Hush, and they also show that clip in the movie. And so I just can't think that this is a coincidence now. At the very least, it's a solid Easter egg, but it could be more. It could be something that connects threads from one movie to the next, part to part, and the more that I think of Hush as a villain, the more that I'm getting into the idea. I think that some of you might agree with me that the past Batman movies, it just seems like we kind of repeat the same villains over and over and over, and so just hearing about this gets me so excited because we might have a movie showcasing Hush and Clayface. Like, that is just so sick. And then you could just blow the whole thing open and have the Court of Owls for part 3, and it would just be like the best thing ever. I don't know, maybe I'm just like overly excited or something, but please let me know all your thoughts down in the comments about Hush, and let's move on, shall we? So next, I just wanted to talk about Selina Kyle for a second and just kind of speculate about how she's gonna fit into this sequel. You know, the first movie ends with her riding off to Blüdhaven, seemingly to go live her life, but she's still a cat burglar, guys, and her character has a long way to go, especially if we're heading towards what we know from the comics. So my questions and speculation is just mainly about, like, if we do see her, are we going to see some suit upgrades? Like, how is her character going to evolve? Are we going to see a brand new whip? Are we going to see a brand new mask? That kind of thing. Like, how is this all going to come together? Do you think maybe we would see Batman and her kind of run into each other again? Maybe up in Blüdhaven? Or better yet, probably the more likely possibility would be them running into each other at a social function, like Bruce Wayne actually seeing Selina Kyle while she's right in the middle of like stealing from somebody or something like that. Very reminiscent to that scene in Dark Knight Rises. I think something like that would be really cool. I just think it would be really cool to see their relationship continue to blossom. But one of the coolest things and Easter eggs about the ending of part 1 is the mentioning of Blüdhaven. And if Dick Grayson is going to be in this movie, establishing this city and establishing it well only makes sense. We can see Selina hunting in the city, doing her anti-hero thing, but also showcasing how much of a nightmare that city is. I feel like it just opens up the door for the future, and Matt Reeves has already done such a good job getting us familiar with Gotham and this grimy, dark place. Well, what does Blüdhaven look like? Like I said, it opens up the door for a lot, and I think that Selina kind of holds that key. I'll say it again, but there was so much emphasis on her character in part 1, and so clearly there probably was a roadmap for where her character is going to go. And so that's why I think that she's going to have more of a dominant presence in this second movie than I think a lot of people might think that she will. Zoe Kravitz has already knocked it out of the park, and so I think wherever we go, we're probably in good hands. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of news coming out for the Batman Part 2 here in the coming 6 months to a year. Filming is supposed to start next year. You know, there's still a strike going on, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but regardless, I'll certainly keep these videos coming, so if you enjoy this type of thing, make sure to subscribe and get notifications. I love making these videos, I really do, and I've realized that my channel needs to become more. People need hope. But anyways, guys, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. I use comments as video topics from time to time, so ask a question, maybe make a statement. I might feature it in the next video. Also, hit the like button to show some support. I appreciate that more than you know. And also, you can find me on X at JonesVibesOnly. And please, guys, don't forget to keep up the good vibes. But that's it for the Batman Part 2 updates. Take care, Bat fans.